Hi girls, this is just to help you with your real graphs homework that I've set you for the week of the 8th of November. So hopefully by me going through the first question it will help you with your thinking about how to do the following questions. So Janine sets off from home to walk to the shopping centre. She does some shopping, then gets the bus home. The travel graph shows information about her journey. Question A, what distance from Janine's home is the shopping centre? So we know that Janine sets off from home, so this is Janine setting off from home at 9 o'clock, and she's walking all this way. So as time goes on, you can see that the time is here. As the time is going on, the distance that she is travelling is increasing. So she walks all the way to the shopping centre, and obviously when she gets to the shopping centre, she's going to stop. So when this line plateaus, you can see the distance isn't going up. The time carries on because we can't stop time, but at this point here, this shows where she's at the shopping centre. So we know that she arrives at the shopping centre at this point here, and if we read across on our scale, we can see that the distance from the shopping centre is from her home is 4 kilometres. So the answer to question A is 4 kilometres. Okay. Then it's saying, for how many minutes is Janine at the shopping centre? Well, we know that time is running across the bottom, and we know that where this line is flat, she's not leaving the shopping centre. At this point, she's at the shopping centre all of that time. So if we get our ruler and we draw a nice straight line down, and then we move our ruler across here, so this point where she starts moving and coming home, we know that she's left the shopping centre. So it looks like that's going to line up quite nicely to 11. So we need to work out what this distance here is. Now, we can see that between 10 and 11, she's there that whole time. So this time, she's there for 60 minutes, because there's 60 minutes in an hour. And then we need to look at how much this piece of time here is worth. Okay? So we know that whole chunk of time is worth 1 hour, or 60 minutes. So half of that time is going to be worth 30 minutes, or half an hour. But we haven't got half of the time, we've got half of a half. So half of a half an hour is going to be 15 minutes. So we need to add these two numbers together, 15 minutes plus 60 minutes, and that will tell us that she was at the shopping centre for 75 minutes, or 1 1/4 hours. Okay, so that's because there's 60 minutes there between 10 and 11, and 1/4 of an hour between 9:45 and 10 o'clock. So that's how many minutes Janine is at the shopping centre. Now it starts getting a bit more tricky, so we look at working out Janine's walking speed. And we need to give our answers in kilometres per hour. So we know that she's walked to the shopping centre. So we know that this is where she's walked, and we know how long it's taken her to walk that distance. It's taken her 1 hour less the 15 minutes. So in total, that time there is worth 45 minutes. Okay? And then up the side, we know how far she's walked. So she's walked 4 kilometres. So in 45 minutes, she's walked 4 kilometres. Okay? So we need to give that distance in kilometres per hour. So if she's walked 4 kilometres in 0.75 hours, because 45 minutes is 3/4 of an hour. So what we then need to do is do 4 kilometres divided by 0.75 hours. So if we do that on our calculator, 4 divided by 0.75 hours is equal to 5 1/3 kilometres per hour. So we've done question A, question B, question C. So, the bus stops twice on Janine's journey home. For how long does the bus stop each time? So we know that the bus has stopped at the points where the line goes flat because time's continuing but we're not travelling any distance. So this point here is where the bus has stopped, and at this point here is where the bus has stopped. Okay? So, let's have a look at the question. The bus stops twice on Janine's journey home. For how long does the bus stop each time? So, what we need to do is get our ruler. It's a little bit tricky because we can't quite see the lines on these photocopies, but hopefully we can have a good go. So I'm just going to draw my lines down. It's gone a bit wonky. And draw my lines down. Now this is a bit tricky, so there's a little bit of guesstimating going on here. But I'm going to shade mine so I can see better what that might translate to in terms of my hours, or rather my minutes. Now if you'd got the actual book, you'd be able to see the little tiny squares, but it's not come out on the photocopy. So we've got this chunk of time and this chunk of time. So let me just move this across so I can get my ruler in, which isn't really working. Okay, so I've got on my ruler, I've got about 1, 2, sort of 2 there, and here I've got maybe 2 or 3 there. So if I say I've got about 5 or 6, and then just measure, it looks to me to be about, in total, if I add this one and this one together, I'm estimating that to be about 15 minutes. It looks about, when you add them together, to be about 15 minutes. So I'm going to say that the bus stops 15 minutes in total. But it's asking how much it stops each time. So I'm going to say it's about 7.5 minutes. So on these types of questions, just give me an estimate because you can't really see, okay? And then we need to know, and hopefully you can still see that, but look on your sheets, question E, at what average speed in kilometres per hour does the bus travel? So what we need to do there is we need to look at the time that it's taken between here and here for the bus. And how many minutes is that? And then the distance it's travelled, it's still that 4 kilometres. So it's going to be something like 4 kilometres divided by how long it's taken. So that looks to be about 30 minutes, so over half an hour. So if it's done 4 kilometres in half an hour, it will have done 8 kilometres an hour. And that's its average speed. So, a couple of things to note for this homework. I will try and remember to say it in class. Obviously you haven't got the little tiny squares on here that you've got in your books, so there is an element of not guesswork, but approximation, I guess, is the best way to explain it. What I'd like you to do is give it your best shot. So let's just run through these questions very quickly. Question 2, finding the cost of posting a parcel of weight 1 kilogram. Well, obviously you need to look on here as to where weight 1 kilogram is, and then read up and across to how much the cost is going to be. There might need to be an approximation, so you might want to say it's going to be between, this is the wrong answer, but between £5.50 and £5.80, for example. So just use your kind of best approximation, but you need to draw these lines in so I can see that you've understood how you've made your calculations. This has got a little bit messy on my sheet, so I suggest you do your calculations and your workings in your books. Then question 3, liquid is poured into each of these containers. Sketch a graph to show the relationship between the depth of water and the volume of water in each. That's quite a tricky question, but I'd really like you to sort of sit down and have a good think about that question for a good sort of 10-15 minutes just to see what you think. And then finally, you've got some questions on the right hand side of the sheet, and these ones are matching. So question 4 I think is probably easier than question 3. And then question 5, in terms of the petrol consumption, you need to draw yourself a graph. I'd really like you to have a go at question 5. So your homework is to do question 2, question 4 and question 5. Have a go at question 3. Remember, it's just a sketch on question 3, not an accurate graph, where question 5 does need you to draw axes on graph paper and draw the graph properly. If you've got any questions after seeing this video, come and see me on Monday or Tuesday lunchtimes. Thank you. Bye.